Phew, thought I just clicked end as soon as I started it. Okay, whoa. Hello everyone. Sorry, that was quite stressful because obviously I did it in the most stressful way possible and sent out the wrong links to numerous places. But now we're here and it looks like a lot of people are logging on. So we must be right. Hi Jules, how are you?
I'm wonderful. How are you?
Good, I'm very well. For those of you who don't know, this is Jules. Because I've opened this up, right? So it was initially meant to be for AFM coaches. And then I was like, actually, I think a load of my clients would find this really useful. And then I was like, hey, do you know what? The whole world might find this useful. So here we are. Hello, everyone that is commenting. This is very cool. I'm very excited for this. Okay, let me share one of my many, many, many tabs that I have open. Share screen. And then I'm going to talk through just like how this is going to work. So, that would be another good thing to do. Jules, actually, if you have the link to this goal setting form, maybe you could put it in the chat because everybody ideally wants to have this up. Now, full transparency, I've never done it like this before, but I think it's going to work well. And I think if you do it as we go, then it will work really well. And these replies will be sent to you so that you can look back over them or add to them or kind of like think through things a little bit more. So if everyone can get up that Google Doc that should have been sent to you, I will give you a moment to do that. And so I can calm my nervous system while I just assess what else I need to get up. Okay, right, I've actually done that. That didn't take as long as what I thought. Okay, does everyone have this up? Hi, Emily, thank you for your unwavering excitement. Emily always gets it up. Do you relate to that, Max? He says no. Oh, you're watching. Max has it up, guys. If you want a little POV, he's got it up. Okay, we're doing well. Okay, we've started really well. Okay, so just to run through how this is going to work. First of all, welcome everybody, and there are well over 130 odd people, 40 odd people already here. So I massively appreciate your time and your attention. I promise this will be worthwhile. I have been to many a goal setting workshop that has been a complete waste of time, but this will not be one. And I went to one recently and I want to give credit to it because a lot of what we go through today was taken from this other workshop. And I've picked out the best bits and added in some things that like both Jules and I think are going to be really useful for setting goals for the next year. And I'm just trying to think what else I want to say before we start. I guess that I left this workshop feeling like a nice sense of both calm and excited for the next year, which is kind of how I want people to feel. Like we're going to start with some reflection and then we're going to go into some goal setting. Bear in mind, this was like a whole day workshop, so I have kind of condensed it. And if there's one thing I'm good at, it's being efficient. In fact, I'd say the only person who might beat me at this is Jules herself. So we're quite an efficient little team. Yeah, why is that echoing?
That's not normal.
Is it still echoing? No. Oh, that was just a Okay, fine. Okay, cool. So as I'm sure people are aware, like December's a good time to reflect on the year and make some big, scary, exciting goals for next year. And that's true whether you're building your business or whether you're building your body or whether you're just kind of thinking about your life as a whole and how you want to, in one of Jules's favorite sayings, live your like rich life, your best life, whatever that means to you. So that's what we're going to do today. And how it's going to work is we're going to go through this each section together. You should all have the link because Jules has posted it and it should have been emailed to you as well. You will be sent out your answers so that you can elaborate on them. I am not going to look at any of them. Like this is completely personal. Unless you specifically work with me and you're like, Emma, can you look at this for me? then obviously I will look at it, but I'm not going to read through them. So it's completely confidential. This data won't be used for anything aside from the last question, and you will see why the last question will be used, but nothing else will be used. I'm going to go through these and hopefully share some of mine and some of Jules's goals, because that will kind of get your brains working around things. And then the final note before we start, this only works if you're really honest with yourself and if you set some big goals around what you truly want to believe. This is why I've kind of been so adamant about explaining that I'm not going to look at these if you don't want me to. Like, I want you to be completely honest. I want you to set those big goals that you might even be scary, like to kind of say out loud or to say to other people. Okay, so let's get started. And at some point throughout, if you do want to like take a little picture, share it on social media, like, you know, that would be appreciated as well. You can tag at AF Mentors and at ESG Fitness. So the first section is on a bit of reflecting. So I want you to think about the 3 best things that happened this year. And I want you to think about that from like a personal standpoint and a professional standpoint or a business standpoint. So it could be things like nurturing your friendships. It could be things like getting out of your comfort zone in some way. It could be things like finally starting Commit to 6 and starting exercising consistently, or finally this wouldn't be personal, but I was going to say taking your business seriously, but that would be more on the professional standpoint. But things that have been amazing that have happened to you this year. So 3 for personal, and then 3 for professional. So that could be like milestones at work. It might be promotions. It might be big projects. It might just be simply that you've finally started like enjoying your work, or be proud of the impact that it's having. Jules, do you want to share one of yours?
The first thing that came to mind when I thought of this was meetups. And we've done 2 this year. They are the best day, and everyone leaves, including us, leaves just absolutely buzzing for what's next. And I think it's such a reassuring thing. And this applies to fitness, it applies to business. Getting yourself in a community of people that get it is game changing.
Agree. They were amazing. Okay, so I see where the echo is coming from. It's whenever you're not muted.
Right, okay. I shall
So
return.
just talk one at a time, which is probably a good thing anyway.
What's one of yours?
Pardon?
What's one of yours? What's one of the best things that's happened to you this year?
Obviously, Max has just pointed at himself. So, you know, that's been a real highlight of my year. It genuinely has, our friendship.
Oh.
Yeah. There's an emotional moment for everyone. That will be a personal one. Professional, I would agree, like the meetups have been incredible, and I am like genuinely proud of the impact that business has had this year. So that's been fun. Okay, next section. Is this live? Yes, it is. Okay, so the next section is 3 lessons from this year, both personal and professional. So have a little think about that. Jules, do you have any that you want to share?
One of my things for this year, I would say, is you can do more. I don't mean necessarily Emma Storey-Gordon, but you can do more. Generally, I think everyone underestimates what they can do. And actually, if you push yourself, you're like, well, I can do this. You can do more than you're doing now. You can achieve more. You can achieve bigger goals than you think you can.
I like that. I actually had some notes. Now I can't see them. What did I say on this? Oh, learning. So this was more of a personal one, but learning how to manage my energy. That was a really big one. I think that's been like a huge shift for me this year. And then just for like ideas for people as well. Sometimes it can be things like setting better boundaries, or finally figuring out like the diet and exercise regime that actually works for you. And on a professional standpoint, it might be like you've learned how to manage your team better. It might be that you've finally figured out what like a work-life balance looks like for you, or the business model that you prefer and you do better with, or Might even be things like, you know, who you can trust or who you can't trust in and around your business or in and around like work situations. So 3 lessons for personal and 3 lessons for professional. And then we will move on to the next part, which I'm really excited about. And I spoke about this quite a lot on the podcast, on numerous podcasts. I think I spoke about it on the EC Method, ESG Fitness, and AFM. Like, that's when you know, when you hear it from like all angles, you're like, wow, something has obviously clicked for me. But I always found that goal setting, especially when people try and almost push it from like a negative standpoint, and I completely understand this because most people who want to change because they're not enjoying something about their life, right? So when I first got to this goal setting workshop, it was very much that. It was like, well, if you don't change, then you're just going to live your life like this. And that was quite a nice realization, because I was like, I quite like my life. You know, like, it wouldn't be the end of the world if I continued to live my life the way that it is. Like, I enjoy my life. So that was interesting. But then I kind of found, like, how can I motivate myself, even though actually I'm quite comfortable and I really like my life and I enjoy my life, and there are like the vast majority of my days I'm like, yeah, I'm living my Jules like rich life. Is there a question here? Yeah, when it goes on all the podcasts, you know the impact is hard on you. Yeah. So anyway, this concept was quite new to me, and it's called fear setting, and it's more about thinking about what you're afraid of in these elements. So we're going to go through health, wealth, happiness, relationships, and then in business and on business. And you have to state your biggest fear. So like a really kind of simple example of this, and I think one that will resonate with most people, is when it comes to health, like, it's very easy to forget how lucky you are while you're healthy. And it's only when you lose your health that you're then like, oh my God, I should have like appreciated that when I had it. But if you can align yourself with like how shit it would feel to lose your health or that independence. So like, as an example, for me, my biggest fear around health was to lose independence. So then how can I do as much as possible to avoid that? And that actually motivates me now, even though at the moment I don't have any like major health problems that are impacting my independence. So what I want you to do is think about like the biggest fear that you have around health, and then set a goal based on that. So my goal would essentially be to continue to live the way that I live and eat well and exercise consistently and sleep well, because I want to maintain where I am. And I think people can get to a point where they're relatively happy with where they are, that they lose all motivation. And that we see this a lot with people who maybe start in a very overweight body, and then they get to a point where they're like, oh, I'm quite happy with my body composition now. And my motivation has always been driven from a place of being unhappy. So now I don't have as much motivation. And then what tends to start happening is they start to kind of like slowly revert back to the behaviors that they were doing before, because of that drop in motivation. And like Jules and I see the same in business, where people are like really driven maybe from a place of like, wow, I need to make enough money to pay my bills. And then when you get comfortable, you can kind of get a bit lazy. And the thing with business is, it's actually very hard to stay where you are. Like, you kind of always need to be pushing forward, or you do genuinely go backwards. So keeping that kind of like spark alive is important. So think of one for health. Like I said, mine was loss of independence. And then my goal was to continue to exercise and eat well in order to put myself in the best possible position to live a long, healthy, disease-free life. And then the same was kind of true with me for wealth. I was like, my biggest fear is probably to lose wealth and then be forced to work for somebody else. That's genuinely one of my biggest fears in life, because I just don't think I would be very good at it. So then my goal is to continue to make sensible investments and always hold my rule of investing more than I spend every single month. So whatever's like appropriate to you. Now you might be like, first of all, I need to get out of debt. Okay, so what's the goal, and what are the action points that you need to take in order to get there? What's your biggest fear around happiness?
Around happiness? I think it's feeling, and it probably relates to all these, but I think it's feeling stuck and not having control over things, which relates to the health goal as well, that if my health was in such a place that I couldn't control it. Like, we always say that we thought when COVID hit, we thought self-employed people were in such a better position because we could automatically pivot. We were in full control of things. So I think when it comes to all of these fear-based goals is because I'm such a solutions-focused person, if I've not got control, I can't fix it. And I think that's the theme that runs through all of my fears. Anything I think could go wrong, and I'm like, right, well, how do we fix it? Let's figure it out. Everything's figure outable. But if I can't control it, then I can't figure it out.
Yeah, I like that.
I think you can create your own happiness.
Yeah, you essentially, which is kind of mine.
Yeah.
Like it was, my biggest fear was to never fully appreciate what I have now and fall into the I will be happy when trap, which I think is so common. So then the goal off the back of that was to practice gratitude daily.
I think with all of these fear-based goals is the post you put on the other day that said 6 out of 10 is the worst place to be. Because there's no real fear there. It's not great either, but there's no real fear. It's fine. And do you want to live is fine?
No, we're fuck average, babe. We didn't do fine.
Yeah,
question here. Are we supposed to fill in this form during the workshop? Some of the questions might need some time for me. Yes, I do want you to fill it in during the workshop, but you, as I said at the start, like you'll be sent the responses so you can kind of elaborate on them. But I also think you can spend too long thinking about these. So I do get what you're saying, and I do agree that it would be good to go away and think about these. But sometimes the first thing that comes to your mind kind of surprises you. And when you're pushed on an answer like, okay, well, we want you to do these things relatively quickly, as opposed to like overthinking everything. And then often what you're thinking, subconsciously or not, is like, what will other people think of this goal? Or what will other people think of me? Whereas if you're just like, I'm going to be completely honest, like the first thing that comes to my mind when someone says, what's your greatest fear in a relationship is X, you know, rather than like thinking about it and thinking, what would people judge me for? Or even what are you judging yourself for? Like one really interesting conversation I had with an old business partner was when we were doing like a values workshop, and we had to like, you know, the standard, like you need to pick your values. Now, almost everyone in their top 5 values has family, but he didn't. And he was like, well, you know, based on, he's like, one of 2 things are true here. Either like family is of a top 5 value to me and I just don't live by it, or it's just not. He's like, I don't live in the UK. I can't actually go back to the UK for tax reasons. Like, I don't see my family that much. And at this point in my life, it's not a top 5 priority to me. And I was like, that's actually quite like refreshing to hear, like, it's just not, like, and being honest with that. And that's just a good example of like, a lot of people would judge, but also you might have self-judgment of that, of being like, I feel like that should be a value, but maybe it's not. So yes, the long version of that answer is I do want you to fill it out as we go. Jules, what's your biggest fear in business?
I would have said, and I think a lot of people will probably say their biggest fear would be all of their clients leaving, but that happened to me. So I figured it out, and it was fine. This was many years ago, by the way. At my first go at business, what would be my biggest, that I don't enjoy it, I think would be my biggest fear. And I get stuck in getting yourself into a situation where you have to do these things for whatever reason in order to bring in a certain amount of money. Like, I don't say I take on premises and I'm tied into a lease and I'm legally bound to it, and I just hate it. That would be my biggest fear, would be losing the spark of enjoying my business. What would yours be?
Can you tell that Max is just trying to mime something to me? You can tell that like all of yours are based on control.
Yeah.
Like you want freedom, essentially, which I think or like most people do. I think my biggest within business is that I would let people down. So like whether that be like not showing up at my best for my clients or not showing up at my best for my coaches, like that would be my biggest fear, like within the business. And then on the business, it would be much more about like just not reaching my potential and staying small because I'm worried about like outsourcing things and I'm too much of a control freak. So then basically if you figured that out, then you can set goals based on that are going to push you away from that.
It comes back to values as well, though. Like the freedom thing, we value the freedom and the control and the options that we have got by being self-employed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which also comes with like quite a lot of responsibility, I guess. But yes, so I want you to set for each of these what your goal is, what your fear is, and then based off that, what your goal is to avoid that fear. And again, what I really like about this is you don't need to be anywhere near that fear in order for this to actually be quite motivating, because it's kind of reminding you of how shit that situation would be, and now you're in a position where you can avoid that. Okay, and then the next thing I want to talk about, which is not actually in this, so maybe I should just skip over it, but I actually kind of wanted to hear Jules's take on it. So have you ever heard of a moonshot goal?
Yes.
Go on.
So like a goal that's like so big that it's like a shot for the moon, essentially. Like it's
yeah, do you know where it came from?
I actually don't know where it came from, no.
So apparently it came from President Kennedy and his 1962 initiative to land on the moon within a decade. And this is why I wanted to talk to you about it, because Jules is convinced that we actually haven't been to the moon.
I didn't realise that the moonshot goal thing came from the moon landing.
Yeah, the moon landing, the hoax of the moon landing, which, to be fair, so we spoke about this recently on the podcast, and when you were like, I just don't get it, why has no one been back? It's actually quite a good question.
They've got plans to go back.
Yeah, Max, they have plans, but they've not been for 50 years.
It's boring up there, there's nothing going on.
50 years?
That's a big rock.
I think based on the technology available at that time and the things you could not do, to be fair, it was a pretty decent goal then. That genuinely was a moonshot goal, because that
was literally
realistic.
Yeah,
literally.
So anyway, based on the kind of goals that you have, I think it would be good to set like a crazy goal and then set a time frame on it. So I quite like I can't remember who said this. It might have been like Warren Buffett or don't know, someone was like, make a list of the things you want to achieve in the next 10 years and then like do it in 5. Or maybe it was do it in 1. Maybe it was like 5 to 1 or something. And look, the likelihood is you won't be able to achieve it, but it doesn't matter because you'll get significantly more done. So I'd set like a big, extremely ambitious goal and then work as if you are going to achieve that. And then even if you only get halfway to the moon, it's still better than, what you would have achieved. David Grimes has some interesting things to say about moon landing conspiracy stuff. Do you know what? If David Grimes doesn't think that they have, I'm kind of bought in. Good question from Gemma. What's the difference between on business and in business? So like, I would define it as in business is kind of like the workings of your business, right? So for me, it might be like the results that clients are getting, the quality of coaching service, if my coaches are happy, if people are getting results, like that's how I would see like in business. And then on business would be like the growth of the business, like where's it going? What are you working? Like what's your potential for business growth? That's how I would define the two. Jules, would you see it in any different way?
Yeah, so the way I would describe it for coaches would be like, right, so your check-ins, your programming workouts, your PT sessions, that's working in the business. It's doing the tasks of the business. Whereas on business is like your entrepreneurial tasks. It's the things that grow and expand the business. So on business might be more like marketing, outreach, the more behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah. Okay, next quick principle I want to talk about before we move on to the next section. And this, by the way, if you're here and you're like, I don't have a business, stop talking about business. This all relates, like all of it's the same, like kind of for any goal, is this 80-20 principle, which is the idea that about 80% of your results come from 20% of your actions. And of course, it's not like ever exactly going to be 80-20, but it's a pattern that tends to show up. So about 20% of your workouts will drive 80% of the progress that you're making, right? About 20% of your habits around diet and exercise will drive 80% of your fat loss. Around 20% of your clients, if you have a coaching business, will probably drive around 80% of your revenue, right? The ones that stay the longest. Definitely about 20% of your marketing efforts is actually driving about 80% of the people that are actually coming into your business. And almost all of us are doing like too many different things. Like an example might be like you're on LinkedIn and you're doing a Substack and you're doing a podcast and you've got a YouTube series coming out and you're running workshops and you're doing Instagram, and then you realize 80% of your clients come from Instagram. And actually that's often quite low down your priority list because you're like, oh, but you know, I'm starting this new YouTube and that's where all my focus is. So it's just making sure that you're aligned with where you're actually getting results. And I think doing a check-in, I try and do this like at least twice a year of like, where am I kind of wasting my time? And there is a time and a place for exploring things, but then you also need to be like, right, okay, well, given that my time and energy is a constraint, where is it best placed to get me the best results? And it's very easy to look at shiny new things and then be like, well, actually, it's still Instagram, or actually, it's still like this one thing I was doing at the start. Another thing to consider as well is that probably like 20% of your thoughts are providing like 80% of your stress. So just in different like scenarios, you can think about like how this plays out. And then based on that, you can think, well, where do I need to focus more effort? So the principle is about identifying the small number of actions that are giving you the biggest return on your investment and making those your non-negotiables, as opposed to trying to do everything and then inevitably not doing any of it very well. Okay. And actually, this is a quote from Nima. I don't actually know who to credit for this, but it really resonated with her when we were talking about this. And she says, do the things that you have to do more efficiently so that you can do the things that you want to do more frequently. And I think that's quite a hard mindset to get into, because often we think, and I'd say this is true whether you're trying to get in shape or whether you're trying to build a business, that like working harder is always better. And sometimes you almost get like guilt, like, oh, okay, my goal was to get business to a point where I could take Fridays off. And then you start taking Fridays off and you feel so guilty about taking Fridays off that you don't even enjoy it. Like things like that. It's just important to kind of reassess why you're doing things and what the outcome you want should be, or what the outcome you want is. Will you be able to send a recording of this, Mr. Middle and family keep interrupting? God, how? Yes, I will absolutely send you a video. Love David Grimes' book recommendation, Irrational Ape. Yeah, he is absolutely brilliant. We've had him on EIQ a few times. He's fantastic. Okay, where are we on? Okay, so this is when I was showing Jules this, she was like, what's core 4? I really like this, and this did come from the workshop. And basically it's like, I think he actually had like core 5, but I thought some of them weren't really necessary. So it's basically having like a team of people, no matter what you're trying to achieve, someone who's been there before, someone who is like your coach, your expert, or your mentor, someone who's like a cheerleader, and then like a team or community, right? So say you were a coach on AFM, you might have, you know, and these can be the same people for some things, right? So you might have like someone that's been there before, well, like half of AFM probably. Then you might have your coach, expert, mentor, Jules or I or Chrissy or Haley. And then you might have like a cheerleader. Now, again, probably the whole of AFM, and or like it might just be like a friend who always backs you, right? Like I'm Max's biggest cheerleader. Everything he does, I'm like, oh my God, it's amazing. Which to be fair is genuine, and it is. But I might like fill that role. And then you'd have like a team or a community, which could be like the Commit to 6 group, or, you know, the AFM group or whatever, who are all backing you as well. And I thought it was quite an interesting thing to like list those people out for you. So like, who's someone you know, like say you want to, I don't know, run a triathlon. Who's someone you know that's been there before that could help you? Okay, maybe it's like a friend of yours that's already run a triathlon. Would you say run a triathlon, competed in a triathlon? Because you're doing some swimming as well, aren't you? It's not really running.
No, no.
Anyway, let's change it to marathon. Someone who's already run a marathon before, and then you might have your coach who's like backing you, you know, and is telling you how to train in order to meet that goal. And then you might have your cheerleader, and maybe like that's your partner because they're your biggest fan and they're always supporting you, and they're the ones that even when it's raining outside, they're like, I believe in you, you can do this. I'm going to be there all the way through the marathon cheering you on. And then you'd have like your team or community, and that might be like your running group or your running partner. But I like the idea of identifying who these people are. Can you say what been there before is? Yeah, Lucy. So it'd be like someone who's run a marathon before and can give you advice on it. Or it'd be like someone who's built a similar sized business to what you want to build, right? Something like that. Irrational Ape is the name of the book, but it has absolutely nothing to do with this. Unless I mentioned another book, which is quite possible. Anyway, write those down. Jules, who are yours? Not to put you on the spot.
Obviously you and the whole of
All
AFL.
of them.
I think there's quite a lot of people I would say would fill most of those roles, but in different ways. And I would definitely say Ross, my husband, he's one of them, not in the been there before or the coach mentor role. And I think it's so important to have these, especially if the people who are like that live in your house, for example, or the people that you work beside, if they do not get your goals, sometimes they can come across as unsupportive. And it's not that they're unsupportive, they just don't understand it. Whether this be for fat loss, fitness, building a business, changing career, whatever it might be, having other people that have been on that journey and who have made the mistakes that you don't want to make, they can absolutely make your journey much more effective. So like in a coach mentor role, they can take their experience, make your journey more effective. And sometimes you just need a cheerleader, somebody that, like you say, pals that, and this is probably the role that Ross, my husband, fills a lot, doesn't really get what I'm doing with my business. And like, if I have a struggle, he's like, mate, I don't know, maybe talk to Emma. I don't know what you should do with this. So, but he's always there as the cheerleader. And I think the team and community is just so invaluable, no matter what the goal is, what you're trying to achieve, or even just something you're interested in. So say you've got an interest in, I don't know, model trains, for example. You want to talk to other people about model trains and be like, have you seen this locomotive or whatever it is? So just having people that share your passions is absolutely invaluable.
Have you seen this locomotive? Yeah, I love that. In what area of life, business, exercise, or other, I struggle with? All of them. It works for all of them, right? So if you were like, I want to run a marathon. If you were like, I want to build a business. If you were like, I want to start a train watching society, you know? Lucy, my boyfriend Jack, also has no clue how to help, but always listens. Yeah, so that might be like the cheerleader role. The other thing I think is quite nice, I know because I would really like to be on other people's, is like explaining it to someone. So like whether it is your partner and you're like, oh, you know how I have this big goal? Well, I've just done this exercise that's like the 4 people that are going to kind of help me get there. You're my cheerleader. Or like, you know, I think it's especially important with the person who's been there before, because they might not actually have a preset active role, but it's quite nice to be like, hey, you're the person who's been there before that I look up to teach me how to run this marathon, or that I might ask questions to or something. And most people really want to be part of that. There's a train community near me and I can't cope. It's PAPS for trains. It's like PAPS for trains. What, like paparazzi? Okay, and then I'm going to move on to the next part, which is a bucket list, which I feel like everyone has probably heard of before, but I just think it's such a, like, I'd never actually done it. Have you ever actually written a bucket list? Have you?
No, not a full list. Like,
no, so like the guy that did this workshop, he had like his like spreadsheet up, right? And he had like, I don't know, go scuba diving somewhere. It was like safari in South Africa, and it was like take my family on holiday to this. And like some of them were like big and elaborate, but actually some of them could be free. You know, like one of the best days I had last year. Oh, Max, you were there when we did like sports day at Battersea Park.
Was that last year?
Well, it was within the last year, right?
Oh yeah.
But like things like that, like, they could be literally free. So they don't always have to be like, I want to go on a world tour. I want to take my whole family to the Maldives or something. Like that could be on it. I'm okay, thank you. But it might not be on it. So they could be totally free things. And I want you to do minimum of 3 for this year. And then a minimum of 3, although I have like a whole like spreadsheet of things that I want to do now and tick off. But for the next like 5 to 10 years. So there might be ones that are much longer term, and there might be smaller ones, and it might be run a marathon, it might be leave my job, it might be start my own business, it might be, I don't know, go on a trip, do the North Coast 500, you know, whatever it is. And it doesn't always have to be huge. It could just be like, I want to learn to make pasta and then invite all of my mates around to eat pasta. What would you put on yours?
Well, I think I'm a bit too YOLO for a bucket list, because whenever I get an idea, I'm like, let's do it. So it never makes it to the list.
Yeah,
I'm quite
it off, and then you get the dopamine hit of taking it off.
I'd probably have done it, then I'll need to put it on my list and tick it off.
Okay, well, Becky's already won this game because she says buy a Nerf ball, and I can't recommend it enough. Everyone needs enough in their life, and Christmas is coming up, so if only I had an affiliate link. Okay, so some of mine, and like I said, some of these can be free. One of my coaches, who I won't name in case she doesn't want to be named, was buy a whole Bitcoin, which is not free, unfortunately. Safari comes up quite a lot. Treat my mum to a holiday in Greece. That's nice. You know, things like that, memories. Publish a book. Go on a group holiday. Set up a work retreat. Do the Seven Sisters hike with a big group of friends. Hike up Table Mountain on New Year's Day. And then just like things that might kind of help you think about things. It could be something that you're scared of or that you've always been putting off, like starting a new hobby or something like that. Or it might be like going on a solo trip, or finally like hiring a coach or a mentor to like go all in and get out of your own way and become like your next level self and fulfill your potential in the next year. It might be an Ironman or a High Rocks or a marathon, or swim in like Iceland or something. I don't know, something like that. And people always have like the Northern Lights. That would be quite cool. You don't get them in Glasgow, do you? You're not North.
Yeah, no, we get them quite a lot. As long as it's a clear night. It's probably been for maybe about the last year. They're here quite frequently, which is, I mean, I've been to Lapland and didn't see them. Now you can just see them at the bottom of my street.
Okay, this is interesting. I think I probably need to do a bit less. I've no problem setting big goals, but actually probably need a bit more white space. How do you guys manage that? Want to do it all now, so I should not overdo it? Can't relate. Good question. Wrong person to ask. Are you actually setting these goals and then achieving them, or are you just setting a load of goals? And then I would also think about, like, I spoke about this today, but in a different context, but the whole fuck yes or no principle. Like, is it really a fuck yes? Like, are you just setting goals because you're like, it would be maybe cool to run an Ironman or compete in an Ironman, but like, are you actually going to do it, and does it actually light you up, and is the juice worth the squeeze, right? Or would your time be better spent elsewhere? Because I would probably argue that if you're setting loads and loads of goals and actually achieving them, then the goal probably isn't big enough to really be pushing you. Would be my thoughts.
What I would also say on that is, are you setting goals and then achieving them, so you're doing lots towards your goals, or are you jumping from one thing to the next and doing lots of stuff, or is it actually a goal you want to achieve?
Yeah, agree. Emma says she wants to do 10 pull-ups, visit Japan with my husband owning my own summer cottage. Yeah, see, these are freaking awesome. Yes, love these. Any thoughts on accountability notes from a firm friend that will encourage you to achieve life goals? I don't know exactly what you mean, but yeah. I also think quite a nice exercise, and this would be a good thing to do with these bucket list goals, especially for the ones you want to achieve this year, is to write yourself an email and then schedule it for today, next year, and be like, these are the 3 things I said I was going to do. I mean, it would probably be good to schedule 2 and then like remind yourself halfway through the year, because then you might be like, shit, I need to book a trip to Iceland, go to Japan, do 10 pull-ups, run a marathon, and I only have 6 months to do it now. But that kind of accountability or just like reminder is quite good. Robin, you get the Northern Lights all the time. I lived in Scotland for like 10 years and not once, genuinely not once did I see them. We had the Northern Lights in Leeds. What the okay, fine. Oh, Claire's going to Iceland. That's fun. My mind has gone blank on this one. Okay, well, have a think about it after, Lucy. I mean, I already know one of yours is like, could be like property related, you know, buy your dream home, something like that. I find it so hard to think of where I would want to be in 10 years. So this isn't, and I agree, but this isn't so much where you want to be. It's more like, what are some things you want to have ticked off, which I think is sometimes easier because I can't think of where I'll be in 10 years either. And also that person seems like a completely different person. So yes, setting and achieving, but take your points on board. Thanks. Got that on the 5 to 10 year. Okay. Yeah. So you could work back from that and be like, cool, if I want to achieve that in 5 to 10 years, where would I need to be at the end of this year? It might be like having X amount saved in order to achieve that goal. And then I would also consider the whole principle of like, cool, it's the 5 to 10 years. Well, could you do it in a year? And the likelihood is, Lucy, maybe not, but you might get it in 2 years because you've tried to do it in a year. You know, you'll be significantly closer. Oh my God, I'm so jealous of the Northern Lights. They better be there next week when I come up. Okay, right. Let me get back so that people can go and have dinner. This is the right one. Right. Okay. Where are we? Yeah. So 3 minimum on the bucket list for this year. I would do the email thing. I just thought of that. That's a great reminder to self. And then the 5 to 10 years as well. And then Jules, you like this one. This is just like, a little fun thing at the end. What is your word of the year?
This was my favourite part of it. And you'll know where I'm going and you'll love my word. My word for next year is audacious.
Oh, I thought you were going to steal mine for a second there. And I was like, how?
Oh, what's yours?
Abundance.
Oh, I like it. I did. That was in my, because I've been thinking about this all day. And I've went through a lot of different words and abundance was one of them. But
yeah.
Audacious.
Max, what's yours?
Not fuck.
He just said a sweary word.
No.
He took it back. Okay.
I can't think of the word.
Speechless.
We'll go with that.
The word is speechless. One of my friends has delusional, which I quite liked. But the thing is, it has to mean like what that means to her. Now, obviously, if someone else would be like, well, that's a really strange word to have, right? So it kind of has to just resonate with something for you. Previous years, I've had commit, hence commit to 6. That's been a strong word for me for many a year. But that always like means something to me. Lucy, simplicity. I like that. Right, what have we got? Exploration. Does not shock me that that's come from Emily. Lucy, simplicity. I really like that. Fearless. Ambition, confidence, change, growth, abundance. Yes, Laura.
Got my word.
What is it?
Breathe.
Breathe?
Yeah, because I did a lot of breath work
Okay.
reading this, and it's made such a difference to my life. So yeah, breathe.
Breathe. Quite like that. And again, it's like one of those words that, not that I'm suggesting this for anyone, but you know, if people get like a tattoo of a word, and to anyone else, it's just like, why have you written breathe on your arm? But to you, it's like, as soon as you see it, it's kind of a reminder to then like slow down, get back within your body, breathe. Yeah.
Slow down.
Potential. I love that. Growth. Word of the year, fearless. My 2 words, fuck average. Yeah, very much enjoy that. Risk, power, content, intentional. I love content as well. That's nice. I don't have a word, but a phrase. Will your future self thank you? I like that. What? So you ask yourself that all the time? Like, would my future self thank me for this decision? I quite like that. Peace, consistency, successful, alignment. Watch everyone get tattoos. Yeah. Action. Yes. That would be. I'm surprised that wasn't. Probably in a previous year, that would have been yours, Jules.
It was one of the words that I did consider for today when I was working through this. So yeah, I think action would have been one of them.
Georgia, ease was 2025 and then dynamic for 2026. I like that. Okay, right. Let me get up the last part of this. Oh my God, there's too many a tab. I think my computer's going to die a death after this. Okay, so the last part is really just, do you want my help and potentially Jules's help reaching your goals this year? And you can tick a box there. There is no obligation to want our help. And obviously, if you're already on Commit to 6, AFM, the EC method, or working with me one-to-one, then you don't need to tick that box. If you do want me to have a look at your answers and you think it would help in terms of coaching or anything, then forward me the email and I will have a little look. And yeah, you can go back over this and like add some detail to it. But I hope that it's been useful. I hope it's made you think. And I also hope that you're going to leave this both appreciating like all you've achieved this year and then also feeling pretty like calm and excited about the next year. My whole kind of plan over the next month, I guess, is to take a little bit of chill time from like next Tuesday, reset a bit, and then hit this hard come January. And I think this was a really nice time to do this because it allows your subconscious to kind of get working around like, these are the goals I have for the next year. This is the intention I'm going in with. This is what I need to have in place. This is the 80-20 of where I'm putting my efforts. You know, what changes do I need to make going forward for the next year based on the goals that I've set here? And we're going to have a very successful 2026. Jules, do you have any closing comments?
I would just say when you're thinking about your goals, go bigger. You can go bigger. Don't set a limit on yourself. Make the goals big and audacious and out there. Moonshot goals.
Agree. And actually, Jules does this a lot for me. Numerous times this year, I've been like, she's been like, how are numbers? And I'm like, yeah, good. I'm really happy with this. And she's like, you can get 10 more. And I'm like, okay, well, I was just going to like, you know, close the doors for this round. And then she's like, no, we can do more. We can get more. And having someone like Jules backing you has been like, for me, genuinely like an absolute game changer this year. So I hope that's been useful, everyone. If you do have any questions for me, get me on at ESG Fitness or at AF Mentors. If you do want our help to make 2026 as successful as possible, we would love to help you. And have incredible evenings.